So this is what we're doing now. We're going to do Brian on Mondays. So if you are a fan of Brian's basketball brain, as you should also get the Substack, Splitting the Action. Or is it I think it's Split the Action. I don't know. I'm dumb. But Brian joins us for the first Monday so far. How are you, my man?
I'm good, Gold. You're not dumb. And
yeah.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Yeah, just I'm forgetful. All right, let's. I want to dig into the Tar Heels and the win over Notre Dame. I know they had a double-digit lead for a fair amount of that game early, but they were down and out. And Notre Dame has the ball, roughly 30 seconds left, and their best player, Burton's got the ball, picks up his dribble underneath the basket. All I could think of was, you're going to call timeout, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't, and he ends up trying to make a play, and he turns it over. And that opened the door. But then Elliot Cadeau bashed it down.
Known sharpshooter, Elliot Cadeau.
Right. It wasn't even just that, right? It was the driving layup. So he had 10 points in the game. 6 of them came in the last 30 seconds. So to me, Carolina needed a win. But did anybody need a series of big plays more than Elliot Cadeau?
I don't think so. I mean, everyone on NC State's roster, maybe.
Yes.
Notwithstanding. But, if we're isolating for non-Wolfpack teams in the triangle, then, I think Cadeau is probably at the top of the list. I mean, at some point, you'd like to see R.J. Davis get going from deep. I remain confident that he's going to find water eventually. But
right.
Still hard to believe. He missed all 3 of his attempts this weekend. Still hard to believe he's under 30% deep. Yeah, Cadeau needed it, and in part because UNC obviously has several very good guards on this roster. Ian Jackson's been playing out of his mind the last handful of games, but he's the best passer they have, and he's also a good driver, and he's creative, and he can orchestrate a few different modes of their offense. So they absolutely need him. And just sort of given the lack of interior punch, at least as it pertains to the center position, they need to squeeze as much out of the guards and Drake Powell as they possibly can. And so having Cadeau ready to roll, or hopefully ready to roll, is a really significant deal for them. So, UNC got a little bit of bad luck too, because obviously Marcus Burton missed basically 2 months of action, and then he comes back and he played great, a couple of turnovers, but including that bad one late. But that was a little bit of a bad luck draw there from UNC to get Notre Dame the day Burton comes back. But good for Cadeau. Made some big plays down the stretch. After what was the game he had a few weeks ago where he really sort of struggled down the stretch? I think it may have been the Florida game.
Yeah.
So nice for him to sort of flip the script up in South Bend.
Here's the thing about it for me. Cadeau was such a bright spot for them last year, with obviously a very different team, right? That had more front court options. Harrison Ingram is gone. Armando Bacot is gone, and they don't have Cormac Ryan. And now this team is so perimeter heavy because, they have useful pieces up front, but nobody they can throw the ball into the post and get offense from. Nobody's going to grab, 4 or 5 offensive rebounds in a game. Then you add to that the fact that R.J. Davis hasn't found his jumper at this point of the season. We're pretty much halfway through. It's going to happen at some point. I agree. I'm not going to say I'm not worried, but I won't be surprised if Davis makes 45% of his three-pointers the rest of the way. But it's getting pretty late. Sometimes the cake gets baked. But Cadeau, to me, had been wearing the frustrations of poor play more than any other player on their roster. It almost like he gets down on himself or gets frustrated with the game, and then he becomes almost unplayable. So I think that something like this is so good. If they can get the best out of him, and he made 2 out of 3 threes, I can't even explain the final play. I can't explain fouling him.
Yeah. I mean,
let him shoot it.
it's also like this is the flip side of like as amazing as it is to get to play at places like Duke and UNC, like the part of the fishbowl sort of like flip side component of it is like if you are struggling or even if you just make a 1 to 3 mistakes in, pressure packed situations and games that everyone's watching, like, it can be tough. It's different playing at UNC or Duke than it is playing at even Clemson, another good ACC team that's only a couple of hours from here. Like,
right.
But it may as well be, and people, obviously, like people, there's a ton of interest around the basketball program. I don't mean to diminish Clemson. They're very good this year too, but like, it's just, we talk and discuss and think about these things in the state of North Carolina at a slightly different level. So it's got to be amazingly fun to play for these teams, but yeah, if things aren't going perfect, then it certainly can be tough. And there was a video, I guess, that went, I don't know, maybe not viral, but there was certainly like video that like was being shared around on social media after the Florida game with Cadeau. And yeah, you could see he was understandably upset. And that's why it's good to see him again, sort of like, put it in the other direction against Notre Dame. Big win. Notre Dame's a good team. Like, good defense, good coach, and you don't ever want to like complain about road wins in ACC play.
No, and it's a good, I joke around about these things, but it's serious. It's a quad 2 win for North Carolina that's looking for good wins, and in a quad 2 win, because it's a road win, it's a pretty good win.
Yep.
So yeah, that's something that they can build on because they need as many good wins as they can get because they're going to have to compile a pretty good ACC record to overcome the fact that the conference isn't going to provide a ton of great victories. Brian Geisinger is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. We talked to Seth Greenberg on Friday, and I asked him about the quality of the league. He goes, it's really hard. And he mentioned guys like Burton, who hadn't played, Mike James at NC State, who hasn't yet gotten on the court. So where are the Wolfpack? And I know it was another tough one. Where are the Wolfpack at this point? And are we seeing, do you see signs that we can point to that, they can get James back, and maybe this guy gets going, they can actually put something together?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying for a few weeks now that, like, the return of James plus, like, the emergence, I mean, it feels less and less likely the more the games go by. But like Paul McNeil Jr., as far as, like, a talent standpoint, and the skill standpoint, he's pretty high for guys on this roster. But like, I mean, he's barely plays and hasn't really shot it well in the limited time he's had on the court. So, but those are the two guys that you could maybe say like, well, James will come back and give him another dimension, a powerful wing that can shoot and score a little bit. And McNeil's rep as a prep player in North Carolina is a Jaquavian Smith type, unbelievable shot maker, range, shot creation, all that sort of stuff. And we haven't seen it. And so it makes them so tough to contain in the half court. I just feel like you're going to see a lot, barring like one of the, O'Connell or Taylor, like really getting going from deep, which at this point, I think they're kind of like shooting what you would expect them to. I don't really see like, another gear for them. Like if they're going to get stuck in the mud in the half court. You could see that in the Kansas game, a few weeks ago with a defense that's able to hedge and recover, and NC State's not really able to punish them all that much. And you see it against Wake Forest. Like right out of the gate, Steve Forbes has Efton Reed hard hedging ball screens. They've got Spillers and Efton Reed doubling in the post, or Drew Karras doubling in the post with State starting the Middlebrooks and Huntley Hatfield together. And like, they can't really like punish them for that, right? There's no like DJ Horn to sort of like spot up around the double teams for kick out threes. There isn't a DJ Burns level passer in the post to pick out cutters. Like they don't have that right now. Middlebrooks has been great this season. I mean, he's kind of been like the one guy that's really feels like has like made a jump from last season. He's been terrific. Obviously they missed him a lot at the Virginia game. He could have maybe even swung it for him. So I think they're really going to have to like nail, like really just amp up the defense. They got to find ways to get out and transition more. And I know it's not as easy as just like pushing a button. And I know this is not a great 3-point shooting team, but I mean, they're, less than a third of their field goal attempts are threes,
yeah.
And they just don't get up enough looks from deep, and just it feels like every half court possession is, a tough mid-range two late in the clock. And the thing that's really propelling them are the fact that they don't turn the ball over that much. They can get to the line, but it's just still, it's a lot of possessions late in the clock, mid-range twos. And in years past, where if you had Jaquavion Smith, or you had DJ Burns, or you had DJ Horn, you could sort of rely on those guys to bail you out. And right now, Taylor and O'Connell are really good guards. Marcus Hill, I think, has been awesome, but just he has kind of a quirky game because he's not a great shooter. And they just don't. It's easy to trap them. It's easy to double team them because they just don't really have the score, the shooting talent to really make you pay.
Brian Geisinger is joining us here. Pack Bride, Buzzbeat podcast, 24/7 Sports. Split the action on Substack. He knows more about basketball than anybody I know. Let me ask you real quick about the Blue Devils, who they played three of their first four conference games on the road. I'm not making Georgia Tech out to be anything special. They controlled that one. They didn't have a ton of trouble with Louisville, who I think is going to compete maybe with Carolina for the fourth double bye by the end of this season. And SMU is off to a good start. I think Duke was pretty good in that game too.
Yeah.
Are we seeing Duke just take advantage of kind of a weak league, which I think the league is weak, or are they that good?
I mean, I think
both true.
Yeah, both are true. It's it'd be one thing if they were squeaking by, but these are all double-figure victories, including the last three by 20-plus points. Pretty convincing, in terms of who was the best team out there. I mean, I guess at periods of time, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, SMU sort of hung around, and if you watched certain stretches, maybe it seemed pretty even or whatever. But obviously, Duke's depth, the talent that they have, and really that defense gives them a pretty high floor, right?
Right.
And then it feels like it's the offense that's the thing that really can be the sort of lid lifter for them in terms of the ceiling. Cooper Flagg's played, he's been awesome all season, but he's been terrific recently. The starting lineup with Sion James, who had 8 assists, I think only 1 turnover at SMU, he's played terrific. Tyrese Proctor's had a really solid, I think kind of under the radar season. He shot the ball really well, moves it, he gets him going in transition, sort of like the way Michael O'Connell does for NC State. Isaiah Evans, not his best game at SMU, but he's been a huge difference piece for them. And having guys like Flagg and Con Knipple who can, play make and shot make for you is ridiculous. And then just the depth that they have at the center position with Kaman Malawach and Malik Brown and obviously Patrick Gongabo, who's really not, he's sort of fringes of the rotation this year. But they just have these two centers that can play different modes, and when Malawach is in, they're playing drop coverage against the pick and roll, and they've got a 7-2, rim protector back there deflecting lobs and contesting shots. And, I thought defensively, I don't know how many defensive rebounds he had at SMU, but I just thought he was sort of one of his better games on the defensive glass. He can be a little inconsistent there at times. And then you bring in Malik Brown, who's got, quick draw Malik. He's got the fastest hands in the country. And all of a sudden he's out there deflecting passes and being a pest and, hedging ball screens out in space. They just give you different looks. And obviously having a guy like Cooper flying around, making plays too defensively is huge. So I don't know. Just I like what they're doing so far. Tuesday's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah.
Jeff Kimball homecoming against Pittsburgh. Circle your calendars. I'll be at Cameron. I'm excited for it because that's probably the two best or top 2 of the 3 best teams in the league. So it'll be a big measuring stick game for both teams.
Yeah, Duke, Clemson, and Pitt, the 3 best teams in the league?
Yeah, I think so. Clemson, very convincing win. I finished that film up last night. Very convincing win against, I know Cal's not that good, but Clemson, I mean, they just steamrolled them. They basically it was an end-to-end kind of victory for them. So impressive stuff from Brad Brunell and the Tigers.
Brian Geisinger, 24/7 Sports, Pack Pride, Buzzbeat Podcast, The Action, all of that every Monday at this time. Sir, I appreciate your time as always, and we will do it again next week.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Gold. Take care.
You got it. Brian Geisinger.